Yo, so thanks for clicking through. Now I'm going to have to apologise because I'm recording everything in the car. You will probably know as well as I do that sometimes the car is the only place you can escape from the world where everyone leaves you alone. The minute I step into the office, it's game over. It's like everything attacks you and it's game over. So I'm going to record it from the car. Ultimately, doesn't matter. The audio is pretty good in here anyway. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is really listen to what I'm talking about. But don't listen from a place of, is this guy bullshitting? Is there any truth in this? Is this guy saying this, that? Does this sound like what I think it does? Is this similar to what I already know? I need you to just kind of let go of everything and just listen. Just listen from a place of kind of openness. Naturally, we all have that part of us deep inside that will know if this is true or not. You know, 80% of communication is non-verbal. The fact you're even here means on some level you feel like my intentions are good. You feel like I've got something useful to say. Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So just listen to what I'm going to say, and I'm gonna really break it down as much as I can anyway. And I really don't want this to be too long as well, because I know, you know, time is more precious than anything. So really, what is this that I'm going to talk to you through? And it's something called the 3 principles. The 3 principles are by a guy named Sid Banks. So I didn't create these, but I've been on this journey where, and I've said this before, I studied psychology, sports psychology, exercise and health psychology at uni. Just all sorts of different kind of techniques and tactics and hypnotherapy and NLP and CBT and all of this stuff, audiobooks and seminars and events, and through all of the complexity, I've then found that this is the most simple and powerful way that seems to bypass and shortcut all of that stuff. Sometimes you have to go through all of the complexity in order to find the simplicity. And everything I've ever learned fits within these 3 principles. And actually, this conversation has the power to change your life. And I used to hate that sentence because it sounds so hypey and over the top and like, really? But actually, sometimes you can have a little insight or a little shift in perspective that can alter the trajectory of your entire life. You can have one idea come from this or something just click for you, and that changed the way you look at your entire life, change the way you act, think, feel. So don't underestimate the power of this conversation right now. So why even listen to me, I guess, is the question. And you've probably pieced together bits of my story, and I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. But just to give you some idea as to why you should give a shit about anything that I've got to say. Now, I mean, I'm not going to start right back at the beginning. I'll skim through it as quick as I can. But essentially, growing up, you know, like most people experience challenges. Challenges around money, challenges around, you know, drugs and violence and getting into trouble with the police, and really kind of being destined to go down a really different route, you know, and abuse and all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to get into the deep darkness of that. That's a conversation for another day. But naturally, it all somehow made me look at all of that and think, I don't want this, I want to be better. Everything, this is all an example of what I don't want. I want so much more than this. I want so much more than what I see, and I want to be so much more than what seems like everyone thinks is the way I'm going. And that inspired me to just become the best version that I could. And obviously that's not an end point, that's a journey. So naturally, I managed to get to uni, and I managed to, you know, working at Greg's and working at McDonald's, and I used to work on the market and just grafting my way through to pay for, to even get through it. And that was interesting. And then I managed to, beyond that, accidentally start a business. And I used to be a personal trainer and become very successful as a personal trainer very quickly. You know, I was charging the most expensive personal trainer in the area by a long way, because I was working with directors of like Fortune 500 companies and sales directors in London, and, you know, going to these massive houses with squash courts and lakes and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And it was like I should feel like I'd made it, you know, because I was making really good money, and supporting my wife. Well, we wasn't married then, but you know, I've got kids and I've got the house and I'm living in my dream town and I'm in great shape and I've got amazing clients and I've got money but in amongst all of this, I actually thought I was bipolar. My mum's got a personality disorder, which is just very volatile, and obviously modelling that growing up without knowing, you know, it was just the stress of it and the ups and downs and trying to be a dad and trying to be a husband and trying to run a business and then cash flow and tax and VAT and rent and like trying to support my whole family. Jenna wasn't working, like... And just the ups and downs, the stress of it, the constant thinking, like one day, like, yes, I'm absolutely killing it. And the next just feeling like I just want to run away from it. Like I just wanted to lay in bed and I didn't want anyone to know that's how I felt. Because externally, outwardly, it was like I was the life and soul of the party. It was like I was the happiest, the most energetic. I'm in great shape. People wanted to be around me. People would look at me and go like, wow, you're killing it. You're doing so much better than what, you know, people expected. But then I'm feeling like a fraud because there are some days where I just wanted to just burn the whole thing down, like questioning myself, fighting within my own head, being snappy with Jenna and like angry, the anger and the frustration and the resentment. And it just felt like my head was this chaos. Like I just didn't know why I was feeling things, how I was feeling, why I was feeling it, what the fuck was going on for me. It just, none of it really made any sense. But yet everyone's saying you're doing really good. And my life is saying, you know, you've got all of these things and you've got the money and it felt like it should be. And I wasn't, you know, a multi-millionaire by a long way, but I had more money than I ever thought I was going to have. And I was paying for things that I thought would make me happy and they just weren't. Like, but in between it were moments of feeling awesome and feeling really good and feeling like I was going to be something, like I'm going to do so well and all this potential. So it was just this chaos in my head. I just didn't know what any of it was. I just didn't really get it. And that's what then led me on this path. I went and did went to an event. It was like all about neuroscience and change psychology. And that was the start of it for me. I then, you know, studied for a year, neuroscience, brain science. So I was just really trying to work out for myself, like, what the fuck is going on? But through all of this complexity and all of the books I hadn't even read a book in my life until this. Honestly, I got through uni, just blagging it. College, I used to just basically get a textbook and just rewrite it. School, I just winged it. I just happened to just wing it through life and just do it somehow. That's just kind of what I do. I'd never even read a book before, but I just was obsessed because I just had this feeling that I could be so much better, and if I wanted the life that I really wanted, I needed to be better. I needed to be like the best version of myself. I needed to be a better dad. I needed to be a better husband. I needed to just somehow have control of myself, my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, who I am. And I needed to work this stuff out, and that's what's led me to this point. That's what's led me to this point where actually not only am I working with some incredible clients, you know, I've had so many awesome clients over the last 8 years, to be honest, but the last 4 years is when I've been working just via, you know, this phone with business owners and some of the most successful business owners in the UK. You know, they're just incredible people, but they've come to me with similar kind of challenges. And not everyone is successful. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, again, the comparison is the thief of joy. So let's cut that out right away. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you resonate with what I've spoken about so far, you know. And through all of this, through all of these conversations, through like, I worked out the other day, I've done over 2,500 hours of one-to-one conversations in the last 4 years, not to mention all the other people that I'd actually spoken to that haven't become clients or whatever, and just conversations just in passing or whatever. But what that's enabled me to do is really distill and get through all of the complexity to find the simplicity, to deliver the most simple information for you that's going to make a difference. Now, obviously, naturally beyond this, you may want to speak to me and become a client. And that's cool. We'll talk about that another time. Or maybe I'll put a button below to book a call if you really want to. And then we can talk about this further. But at this point, my intention is just to share this with you, because then this can make a difference to your life. If it makes a difference to your life, obviously you're probably going to want to be in my world somewhere, or you go away and go, that was awesome. So Let me start then. Let me crack on with this. So the 3 principles are quite simply mind, thought, and consciousness. So mind, thought, and consciousness. Now, I'm going to go into thought today, or thought. I get told off by Jenna because I don't pronounce my my THs. Still trying to drop the chavvy lingo, but it's fine. We'll work with it. So thought is, and this was really quite mind-blowing for me when I first discovered this, probably must have been about 6-7 years ago now. It absolutely blew my mind. Because as someone that was so angry and constantly thinking and trying to solve problems and constantly stressed and anxious and negatively predicting future outcomes and thinking about the past and thinking about the future and thinking about all the what ifs, we live in a world of thought, but we think we live in a world of form. So what that means is we think we're experiencing the world. We think we're experiencing this car and the gym and the people in the gym and work and business and money. We think that we are experiencing all of this outside stuff from the outside in. But we're not. We're experiencing our thinking around those things. So that's why I can be sat in this car and love it. Absolutely love it. Love cars. I've always loved cars. There are not many things I spend that much money on, but cars is one of them. So my thoughts around this car are, wow, what an amazing car. Love driving it. I love the way it looks. Such a sexy car. You know, it says so much about me as a person. It's like it's big enough to have the family in, but it's also sporty enough to look cool when I'm on my own, you know. But to someone else, they could think this is a fucking waste of money. Absolute waste of money. They could think that it's not fast enough, or it's not economical enough, or it's too big, or it's too small, or it's the wrong colour, or it's too fucking expensive to repair, or whatever. Now, the reason there's inconsistencies around this, the car is the fucking car. It doesn't change. It's still the same car. Yet you line 100 people up, and everyone has a different thought around the car. Someone thinks whatever. You get the point. So is it really the car that we're experiencing, or is it our thoughts around the car and what we think the car means and the meaning that we have attached to the car? Now, another funny example for you. Again, when I used to be an angry little prick. So at the beach, and the car park is packed, right? And I'm trying to drive back to the beachfront to get the kids, get everything loaded in. You know what it's like if you've got kids, you fucking cool boxes of food and umbrellas and buckets, and there's people walking either side of the car park, and I'm trying to drive through, but people are coming out as I'm trying to come in, and people are in the way. So I'm kind of in the middle of the road, but someone else is kind of in the middle of the road. And this guy is fucking waving. He's like waving me over, like he's in, get out of the way. And being angry, I'm like, fuck off, like swearing at him, you fucking get out of the way. And then I realised very, very quickly, he wasn't waving me out of the way at all. He was actually trying to give me his ticket. So he was actually trying to do something nice for me. Here's a ticket. I paid for it all day, you know, take the ticket. And that is a very good example of how we can misinterpret and attach the wrong meaning to something. Because what he's actually displaying is affection and love and consideration and care. But I'm experiencing anger and frustration, and I want to fucking have a fight with a guy. Like, can you see there that that's just one example of how we can completely misinterpret? So was I experiencing the man waving his ticket at me saying, take my ticket? Or was I experiencing my thoughts around what I thought was happening? Does that make sense? Now, there's 2 examples there. But think about this. The stress, the frustration, how many times have you worried about something that hasn't even happened? How many times have you gone, right, this person hasn't paid me, they're not going to pay me, so then I can't pay this person, and then they're going to do this and this and this. You know, now I'm experiencing cash flow issues because they're experiencing cash flow issues. And then you're going through your head of what that means, and you spend all day trying to come up with solutions about it, only to then realise, like, by, I don't know, 4 o'clock, you look in your bank and actually the person's paid you, and everything you've just thought about and all of the challenges and struggles and fucking thoughts around what you thought you needed to do, you now don't need to do, and you've spent all day worrying about something that didn't even happen. Again, that's just one example. So I want to take you through a quick exercise. Now, ideally now you need to be on your own. So pause this and go find somewhere. Go take a shit, or go sit in the car, or go find a room where no one is, meeting room that no one's gonna bother you in, or I don't know your life. Go sit in the van. I'm not sure what job you do, who you are, what you are, but find somewhere where no one else is. Pause this and go do that. So now, if you're watching me still, I'm going to assume you are there. And if you're not, it's pointless. You're not going to get the same impact from what I'm about to show you. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to do this with you, and this might be a bit weird, but we're just going to go with it, is I need you to just find something to look at. So something that's not going to move. So for me, I don't know, it's the vent on the car. You could be outside the car. There's a car in front of me, a lamppost, whatever. And I need you to just look at that thing. Now, I want you also to think of your biggest cause of stress right now. What is the biggest thing that's causing you stress in this moment? Or collection of things. I need you to think about that. So I don't know what it is. Could be a client, could be a wife, could be business, could be cash flow, could be a staff member you need to get rid of. It could be, I don't know, you've got to ring someone. I don't know what it is for you, but think about something that causes you the most stress right now. And then out of 10, how much stress does that cause you? Like 10 is like, oh my God, it's making me like want to kill myself, and 0 is, yeah, you're not really bothered. Now, if it's that, then obviously you probably don't need to be here because your life's obviously awesome. Now, it might be in the middle somewhere. So think of that number, maybe write that down, or just remember it. So then go back to the thing we're looking at. So for me, I'm going to use, there's a car in front of me. I'm going to use the badge on the back of that car. And looking at that, whatever the thing is for you, go into peripheral vision. So you let everything else come into your vision. So as I'm doing this, I can actually start to see the rain is just falling on my windscreen. I can see a tree. It's kind of waving. It's blurry because you're kind of in a bit of a daze and a bit of a stare. But you can start to let everything into your vision. Then from this place as well, I'm just going to get you to breathe in through your nose, deep into your stomach, and then out through your mouth. So we're not going to do this for long, just for illustrative purposes, if that's a word. So looking at that thing, peripheral vision, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. So as you breathe in, breathe deep into your stomach. We're only going to do this for about 2 minutes, by the way, so we're not going to be here for long. Deep into your stomach. And then out through your mouth. So breathing in, deep into your stomach, not your chest. Then out through your mouth. Now we're going to turn this into 4-second box breathing. So you're going to breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Hold for 4. Just pay attention to how your breath sounds as well as you're breathing in deep into your stomach, breathing out through your mouth. Just pay attention to how that sounds, how that feels. Just notice how you feel even doing this. Do you feel calm? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel tired? Do you feel peaceful? Or maybe you're even feeling like, fuck, I don't have time for this, but just keep going with it. Chances are you're not feeling that, FYI. Now, staying in that peripheral vision, so you're still letting everything come into your vision, in through your nose, deep into your stomach, out through your mouth. Staying in that vision, we've done 1 minute and 52 here. So you can do this longer, but just for illustration purposes. I want you to now see if you can think about your biggest cause of stress. So don't change your breathing, stay in peripheral vision, stay with that breathing. What is your biggest cause of stress? Can you think of it? Or does it keep dropping? Does the thought keep coming to mind and then disappearing? Does it feel as strong or weaker than a minute ago, or 2 minutes ago to be specific. So I already know the answer to that. I know the thought is dropping. Now, and you can stop breathing now. You can change your vision. You can look at me again if you want. How can your stress reduce when we haven't done anything? You didn't do anything. You didn't email anyone. You didn't ring anyone. No staff has resolved the issue. Nothing has changed, yet everything has changed. How is that possible? And the reason I use this as an example is because that shows us that it is our thoughts that are creating the stress in the first place. We think that situation is causing us stress. It's us. Which is why in that moment, all I've done there for that 2 minutes is it's a bit of a nervous system hack. We're just triggering your brain to know it's safe. And all of a sudden, your stress levels feel less. So FYI, if you can't get to sleep at night, do that. If you're going into a meeting that's causing you stress, do that. If you're about to go on stage and you're stressed, do that. If you're in a board meeting and everyone's pissing you off, you can actually do that. I've had a client do it and no one even notices anyway if you just kind of box breathe. You know, that's a very simple tactic I've actually shared with you there. But notice that your life didn't change, yet you feel different. Now, we can't obviously go about our life just in that state, although you can do it whilst you're driving, you can do it at traffic lights, you can do it when you're on the phone, you can do it, as I said, when you can't sleep, before a meeting, in a meeting, before a talk, whatever. But the main reason I use that is to show you that it's your thoughts that are causing the stress. So now we know that, we can start to see thoughts for what they are. It isn't the thing that causes us stress. It's not our wife that's causing us stress. It's what we think about her, or what we think about her actions, or what we think she is doing, or what we think she isn't doing. It's not our business that causes us stress. It's the meaning we attach to it, what we think it should do, what we think it shouldn't do, what we think should happen or shouldn't happen, or the stories we tell ourselves around what is or isn't going wrong. Or you get my point. It's, as humans, we create meaning and thoughts around all these things, and then we think that we're experiencing them from the outside in, but we're actually experiencing it from the inside out. Our eyes aren't just viewers of the world, they're projectors. We are projecting onto the world what we think something means, and then we're seeing it back. Now, this is why I love the nature of the work that I do, because we can't change everything around us, but what we can change is how we feel about it. What we can change is who we are in relation to that, how we think and feel and act in relation to that, because our thoughts change our feelings change our actions. So if we are in control of ourselves, then we have so much more control over our life, so much more influence over our business, our staff, our money situation, wife, kids, etc. People respond to who you are being. They respond to your energy. You know, when you meet someone and you just feel like, I really like that person and I feel like I've known them forever. Or some people just make you feel calmer whilst in their company. Maybe you even feel that from me right now. You may just feel calmer than just listening to me on a screen. There's an energy about this. There's an energy about you. And it's so much more resourceful to operate from this place. It's different and it takes some getting used to. But thoughts are supposed to just flow. They're supposed to just flow past. But some of them we just attach too much energy to. We think that it means something. We think because we're having a reoccurring thought around losing everything, that must mean something. We think that because we're having a reoccurring thought around, you know, how I should be feeling, that means something. We attach all of this meaning and we become our own stress. One of my clients recently said he's been creating his own storms, but then complaining when it rains. And that's true for all of us. So that is the first principle. Now, in many ways, you could say that my job with my clients is to help them identify those thoughts and start to take them away. You start to kind of dismantle them. And the less they are thinking, the less they're in their head, the less they're overthinking, the less they're anxious, the less they're worried, the better they perform. And it's really quite simple, but we have habitually picked up negative thoughts and negative habits, and we think that we have to worry and overthink and, you know, create contingency plans and be ahead of the game. If we negatively predict all of the possible bad case scenarios, then we'll be ahead. But actually all that does is make us just feel like dog shit. and be snappy and irritable and angry and tired and etc. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, obviously, how you do that, how you tackle the thoughts, etc., is a bit beyond this training. Otherwise, we'll be on on here for hours. So I want to go into the and if by this point you're thinking, right, let's just jump on the phone, there will be a button below. I'll put one below, so you can just do that, and we can just dive straight into this stuff on that call. Basically, once you click that, you'll know what the call's about. I'm not going to talk about it here because that's not the nature of this video. So the other two principles are consciousness, and let's go into that actually. Let's go into consciousness, but consciousness and mind. Now, consciousness is our ability to even know what's going on for us, to even see what's going on for us. The fact that you're even thinking, having thoughts around what's your biggest stress, and then having thoughts around, it means you aren't your thoughts. So there's someone observing the thoughts. Who is that? Well, that's you. The fact that we even have the ability to even look around and look at kind of this sense of self and who am I and what's going on, that's consciousness. Now, that's what a car doesn't have or a tree doesn't have. Well, I don't think. Maybe they do, but I'm not sure, actually. And consciousness is a bit like a glass elevator. It's like, and the way I explain it is, imagine you're in London. I'm close to London, so it makes sense. You're in London, you're in this glass elevator, and you're on the ground floor. And from that place, you just see shops, and you're like, all right, cool. And it feels to you that that's what life is. But then you go up a few floors, and you start to see over the top, and you're like, oh, there's roads behind the roads, and there's more shops, and there's more houses, and that's interesting. But then you go up a few more floors, and you start to realise that beyond that, there's a river, and there's bridges, and there's like the horizon. And even if you then come down to floor one, you still know the landscape now. You can't unsee what you've seen. You now have more of a perspective around what the world is. And that's what happens with consciousness. It's a bit like, and you've probably experienced this, I imagine you're quite a conscious human to even be on this call. This isn't a call, be on this training. And that can be very frustrating because you look at other people and you can see the mistakes they're making. You can see how they're creating their own problems, and you can see how easy it would be to solve, and yet they can't see it for themselves. Or you see their negative thought processes and how they're creating their own misery, but yet they can't see it for themselves. And the funny thing about that is often we are doing it to ourselves and we can't see that either. But once you raise this consciousness, and even just, for example, once you realise we're living in the world of thought, not form, that is almost like going up the glass elevator. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And you go, fucking hell. Wow, that makes sense. It's like once you learn something about yourself or who you are or about life, you can't unsee it. And then you look at people behind you in the journey or younger than you, and you think, oh my God, you've got so much to learn. And that's just consciousness. And that's what consciousness is. It's our ability to even be in this conversation right now and see what's going on. Now, the final principle is mind, or universal mind. This is where it gets a little bit more spiritual, a little bit more woo-woo if you want. And I, for many years, rejected this because my mum was very spiritual, yet she was nuts. And I had this perception of people with crystals and candles and meditating in like the prone cobra or whatever it's called. I don't know what it is. The cobra, I don't know. It's probably not even that. And incense sticks. And all I saw was these ultra spiritual kind of hippies that either had nothing, had like shit lives, or they weren't even happy. They were just walking contradictions. So it was like, that made me kind of reject it for a period of time. Until I started to stop listening from a place of, is this true? Or what is this similar to? Or can I find evidence against it? And I started to just entertain, what if this was true? What if this next principle was actually true? And actually, where in my life has it showed up? So mind is the understanding that there is an innate intelligence behind life. We cut ourselves and it heals. We don't consciously decide. You know, I've grown to 6'3.5". I am. I didn't choose to grow that size. I didn't say, when I didn't get up and go, right, to-do list, grow. I didn't do that. Like, trees and weeds and like, you know, you only have to watch, like, I don't know if you're fascinated by nature. I am completely fascinated by nature, especially if you watch like Attenborough or whatever, like under the ocean, and there's this whole world of life under the ocean, and the way, you know, a fish has evolved to have a light on its head. What the fuck? Like, it's so beyond comprehension. You know, the way we give carbon dioxide, but then trees give oxygen. And there's just absolutely this synergy that suggests to me that there's an intelligence behind life that I do not understand, and maybe I never fucking will, but I know it's there. And what that means for us as humans is, it's in those moments of silence that we get the ideas. For my clients, they're trying to solve problems, trying to fucking solve it. They're racking their mind, they're rattling away inside their own brain. And the minute they just have had enough, they go get in the shower, then it comes to them. It's like it just comes from somewhere else. They just get this inspiration, they get this idea that solves their problem, and they go, fucking hell. Or maybe for you, you're on holiday and you're looking over the sea, and as you're looking over the sea, your life just feels so simple. And you're like, oh my God. And you start thinking, and you're like writing down all these ideas because it's all coming to you. Where's it coming from? Who knows? This universal mind. It's like it's downloading to us. Like, who is it that's even inspired you to do what you do? Like, the things that make you feel good, the enthusiasm and the passion for the things you do. What is it that's made you want to listen to me talk when logically you probably haven't got time? You probably don't know who I am. You probably do feel feelings of skepticism or not really sure, you know, what this is all about. Yet there's a part of you that feels like, I need to listen to this guy. There's a part of you that, you know, that's led you to where you want to get to. Now, for me, whenever I try and control my life from thoughts and I'm trying to logically plan it all, some things can't be logically planned. You can't logically plan when you have children. You can have sex and hope. You know, you can't logically plan what in life is going to make you feel inspired and what business you're going to go into that's going to light you up. Or, you know, I couldn't logically plan meeting Jenna 10 years ago and being married to her all this time on. I couldn't logically plan me doing this as a job. This doesn't even make sense. I get paid to do this. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes no sense. Yet it makes so much sense. And it's because of this feeling inside of me that was like, this is why I'm here. This is what I fucking love doing. I love talking about it. I love thinking about it. I love watching people's lives transform. You know, I get paid well to do it. That's fucking epic, which means I then get to go read more books and do more courses, and I get to just experience my passion and get paid for it. I get to talk. I get to talk on stage. I get to talk on podcasts. It's insane, right? And I know that you have your equivalent of that. Your best ideas, your greatest insights, your biggest inspiration. Where does it come from? And when you measure backwards at your life, like, how did Jenna and I meet? I went to Canterbury Uni. I just knew I wanted to go there. I didn't look at any other uni. I just wanted to go there. And I do not, for the life of me, know why. I have no idea. Something about it just felt right. Now, I don't know if life is supposed to take that path. I don't know if I was supposed to go there. But all I know is I felt a feeling and I went with it. And most of my life has very much been like that. I seem to create experiences, new houses, or, you know, new clients, or things just kind of unfold when I follow a feeling, when something feels right to me. Like when Jenna and I first got together, I was first year of uni. She was leaving uni. She's older than me. I like the older woman. There was nothing logical about us being together. You know, I didn't want to be in a relationship, and she was moving to Hertfordshire and I was in Canterbury. It's like 85 miles away. And logically I was thinking, and I needed to split up with her, and it didn't make sense. And everyone was saying it wouldn't make sense. And I'm thinking it's not going to work. But there was this feeling that said, this relationship I want to stay in, that this is too good to miss out on. And fortunately for me, I've always been quite tuned into what that means for me. And I listen to that gut feeling. I have gut feelings about people or about opportunities, and I followed that, you know. So anyway, my point is, do you have something similar? It's a rhetorical question. I know you do. Like, think about the moments of when your clarity comes, when your ideas come, when your inspiration come. And if you're anything like all of my clients, they don't have enough time to connect to that. They're so busy in their head that they're not present with their life. They're so busy in their head that they don't stop for a minute to connect back to that, place. Now, we like to think we're in control. We like to think that the best way of navigating through life is worrying about everything, thinking about everything, trying to control everything. Most people have got control issues. And again, the reason I know this is because I did too. We're trying to gain control of life, but we don't have control of any of it. I could be dead tomorrow. Like, I could crash on the way out of here. Suddenly when you get ill, you realize you haven't got any control. Or suddenly when, you've got to take one of your children to hospital, or we don't really have much control over life, or as much as we like to think we do. If we did, then obviously we would all have the lives we want, everyone would be successful and everything would be great, because we would go and... No, but what we do have is influence. We tend to... It's like we're doing the dance with the world, the universe, and it kind of, we're the lead. But I guess what I'm saying here, in fact, I know what I'm saying here, is my life, the more I'm in my head, the more I'm in thoughts, the worse my life is. The worse it feels, the more disconnected I feel, the more mistakes I make, the more costly mistakes I make, the more money I spend trying to make myself feel better because I think a new watch or car or something's going to make me feel better. Like, the more I'm in my head, the worse my life is, and the worse my decisions are. The more I take time. I get up at 5 and I sit in silence with a coffee, kids are asleep, Jenna's asleep, and I sit there with a paper and pen, and it's in those moments that I get these ideas, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And sometimes it's, oh, I'm going to go text this client, and they're like, how do you always do that? How do you know? I don't know. Like, I suddenly think, fuck, that's a good idea. And that idea then becomes something so much bigger. It then becomes, a business idea or an investment or an opportunity, or it's in those moments of silence that things just come to me. Ideas come to me, inspiration comes to me, I get clarity, and more than anything, I just feel peaceful. And as humans, especially in this kind of Western world, I guess, we are so distracted by phones and technology and staff and all of that stuff that we're not connecting back into that place. And it's that place that holds our potential. It's that place that has the best ideas. It's that place that guides us in the directions we need to go to. And I understand that for you, this may feel like weird, like this guy's nuts, or he's some kind of spiritual hippie, and I'm willing to bet that there's a part of you that feels like this is true, that feels like, absolutely agree. On some level, on some deep level, you're like, I completely see that. I completely see it. Because that's the same thing for me. Now, we can look at all the complexity of all of this, or we can go, wow, most of us are just operating our lives in a less efficient way. And we can feel that. We can feel that when we're getting ill, when we feel tired, when we feel angry, when we feel frustrated. That's not our natural state. But we're operating in a way that's actually so much harder for us, so much harder work. And just so busy in our head. It's the busyness in our mind that makes us look for escapism, that means we can't sleep, that makes us snappy, because you go home and your wife's trying to talk to you and your kids are trying to talk to you, but then you're still mentally in your head trying to solve a problem that hasn't happened yet, or an email that you haven't received or you haven't written, or it's all the bullshit in our head. The more we create silence in our mind, and I know that we can't be like that all the time, unless you go and sit in a field all day. We do have to dip in and out of this, but my point is understanding this mind principle, that you don't need to figure your life out as much as you think you do, and you don't need to worry about it as much as you think you do, and you don't need to be, you're probably running thoughts about all good things come to an end, or if you stop worrying, everything will fall apart, or, the fear that you're going to lose it all, or the fear that you're going to go back to where you started, or all of this crap. Now, ultimately, that is what my job is. My job is to help find these little thoughts that are hidden in your mind in places that seem to have a catastrophic effect, or those thoughts will be changing your feelings, which change your actions. That's what my whole job is, if you want to call it a job. So if that makes sense to you, then you may at this point, again, you may want to jump on a call. And the whole point of that call is we delve further into this and we discover what's actually going on for you, what's causing you the most stress, like what's making you unhappy, where is your life not aligned to what you most want it to be. And that in itself is a transformative experience. That one conversation can be the catalyst for a change. Or sometimes actually you may find you don't need to change anything. It's just the way you're operating, which is, will make sense to you after watching this. Sometimes we have, as humans, we copy patterns. If we've got very negative parents, which most people have, very scarcity minded, if you've come from not having any money, then sometimes you can still be running beliefs that change the way you act. As an example, recently I picked up a new client. I could tell you so many examples, but this client is fresh in my mind because when people first come to me is the most fun, because that's when their life, this stuff blows their mind, and I find that really fun. Beyond that, it gets deeper, but I some reason seem to really enjoy that part where someone's life just goes. And we discovered that he was always running the belief that all good things come to an end, which means he was always worrying about his business. He's got it to 2 million turnover, and I don't know if that's a lot to you or not a lot to you. It doesn't matter. But to him, that was a lot. But he's always worrying about it going wrong, and worrying about, because all good things come to an end, and the way that was impacting his decisions and his, the opportunities he did or didn't take, or the way he looked at growing his business, or the way he felt on a daily basis, coming at it from what can go wrong, without really realising. And then we started to realise that even though he's married and he loves his wife and they've got a really good relationship and he's got kids as well, on some level he was holding something back from that relationship, because in his mind he's running this subconscious pattern that if all things come to an end, or good things come to an end, then that relationship's not going to last forever. And you can see, and so on and so forth, how that one little thought process that he picked up from his parents was just changing every decision he made and the way he felt on a daily basis. And that's just one example. Again, going back to the 3 principles, we're living in a world of thoughts. So once you know that, you can see these thoughts, you can see, and you can start to kind of dismantle them, because it's our thoughts that are taking us away from mind, from universal mind. It's our thoughts that are stopping us from accessing that intuition, that inspiration, that insight, that clarity, that peacefulness, that happiness, that actually is better suited to creating the life that we want. And if nothing else, just feels fucking good. Just feels awesome. In fact, it's the best feeling ever. And there's just a real grounded, settled down feeling. And I don't know about you, but when I'm there, people are drawn to me. Opportunities are drawn to me. Clients are drawn to me. People are drawn to me. My kids suddenly become better behaved. Jenna becomes more loving, compassionate. We have more of a physical relationship as a result. It's insane. It's such an amazing experience. And you're just like, I've had an idea. And you just go do it. And that inspired thought, this cosmic download, I don't know, then makes you act in a way that just feels awesome, and your life then shapes around it. I guess really it's like, are you creating from stress and panic and fear and thoughts and anxiety, or are you creating from that peaceful, powerful, kind of intuitive mind that's just innately more intelligent than what our logical mind is? It's like Logic is an app on our phone, like Logic is an app that we have, but it's not the operating system. We're just overusing the app. Anyway, that's 44 minutes there. I really hope you got something from this. I struggle to see how you wouldn't, but you know what? I'm open to the fact that maybe you wouldn't have done. Please let me know, what you heard in amongst this. What did you hear? What stood out to you? What are the main insights that you had? How did you feel? Let me know, because I that's my favourite part, is obviously finding out what has come up for you as a result. Now, if at this point you are thinking that I want to have more of these conversations, I want to take this further, this all makes sense, then you can book a call. As I've said before, there's a button below, and I don't have all the answers. It is not my job to have all the answers. My job is to help you to connect more to mind, to actually connect to your own potential a lot more. My job is like a performance enhancing kind of drug in some ways. My job is to get more out of you. My clients are more successful than me. They're richer than me. They're older than me. I I couldn't, they're in recruitment or sales or, online companies, car sales, construction. I mean, I couldn't tell them how to live their life. That's not my job. My job is not only to observe their life from an outside perspective and to spot things that they perhaps can't see. It's to ask the questions that lead them to their own answers. And there's something, when you're in a position like we are, you can't talk to your wife because it affects them. So you kind of keep it to yourself. You can't talk to your staff or your directors or your business partners because everything you're thinking and feeling affects them. You can't talk to your friends because they don't understand or they try and give you advice. My job is actually, there's something so freeing about when you talk to me and I have no judgment on what it is you are or aren't doing. I'm not pretending to know the answers. I'm not trying to talk over you and tell you what I think you should do. I'm just creating space for you to talk about your life and what's not going right and what is going right, and then prodding and poking a few little areas that you may or may not see, little subconscious areas, using my experience of this, personal and working with clients, that then allows you to come to your own answers, your own insights. It is, if you haven't experienced it before, it's just such an awesome experience, which is why I do this, why I love it. It's why I even am taking the time, sitting in the fucking car to talk about this. So if you're feeling like you want to book a call, then awesome. There's a button below. You will need to just fill in your name, email address, and just a few details as well, because I want to make sure that you are a good fit. I don't have that much time. In fact, I basically have barely any time. So I have to make sure that it's going to be a good investment of your time and energy and mine to fill that in with as much detail as possible. And I'll speak to you soon. And let me know how you got on. Let me know what you thought about this. Let me know what insights you had, what come up for you. And I'll speak to you soon.